All right, as we've been reporting, federal authorities are investigating the deadly shooting outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. Now, the suspect is accused of killing 2 Israeli embassy employees. He could appear in court as early as today. One witness described the moment he was taken into custody.
He reaches into his bag and pulls out a keffiyeh and says, "I did it. I did this for Gaza," and just starts shouting "Free Palestine."
Let's bring in Oren Segal now. He is Vice President of the Center on Extremism at the Anti-Defamation League. Oren, great to have you with us. My condolences to have to speak on a day like this. What's your reaction to what we've seen and what it represents in your view?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, our hearts are broken for the victims of this heinous attack in D.C. It wasn't only an attack against the Jewish community in our capital, but really against the entire Jewish community. You know, unfortunately, we have been voicing our concerns since October 7th, but even before, about the normalization of violence against not only Israelis, but Jews. The more that we see protests that feature the glorification of terrorist organizations, the more that Israelis or Jews are being dehumanized at these events and in our public discourse, the more likely it is for us to see what tragically unfolded yesterday.
You know, we've seen and heard from Israeli officials that they've pointed to the series of protests across U.S. universities where students had been denouncing the acts of the Israeli government and saying that that's creating a climate, an anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic climate. What is your perspective? Because I also spoke with the Israeli ambassador to the UN today, who said that criticism of the Israeli government is something that, is acceptable. Every government gets accepted, but there's a line that is crossed and can escalate to things like this. So where is the line? What is the difference?
I mean, frankly, folks that want to protest Israeli government policy or military policy, I mean, that's completely fair game. That is not anti-Semitism. But when you protest the actions of a state in front of, say, a synagogue, or you target the Jewish community because they are perceived as universally supporting everything that a state does, that is where the line is crossed. And unfortunately, what we have seen in over 2,000 protests in 2024 is that it's not just mere criticism of Israel, but actually the type of rhetoric that dehumanizes Israelis, that ascribes blame on all Jews or Zionists for those actions. And I mean, that's the type of rhetoric that I think ends up making people so angry and unable to distinguish between policy concerns and actual harassment of individuals.
And yeah, there is a difference, and perhaps we'll hear more details when this suspect appears in court in just a few hours. Oren Segal, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you very much.